We've all seen them. We've all scrolled past them. And yet, no one seems to ask what they mean. Why do they mark the faces of so many women today? Women whose happiness is quietly collapsing. Is it rebellion? Something new? Or is it something older, more ancient? Something we've forgotten, but that our instincts still recognize. This investigation is not about jewelry. It's about what we're being shown every single day and why no one seems to see it. Until now.
Accessibility button.
Prejudice is a very good thing. You don't want to be cruel about it or irrational, but prejudice is a prejudgment. We use them all the time. It's how we get out of bed in the morning. And so there are all these signs that can maybe suggest, oh, this is going to be a good interaction, and signs that say this is a red flag. And there is no clearer red flag in the world than a septum piercing.
Quick settings window.
Get rid of that annoying finger.
I have never seen a girl, and it's always a girl, I've never seen a girl get a bull ring nose piercing and have her life improve. The producers have assembled myriad women with the septum piercings who I suspect will all have something gone a little wrong.
I'm going to hold your hand with an industrial paper towel when I tell you that your comments saying nose ring theory are literally doing the opposite of what you think they are.
Put a pause. What is nose ring theory? Is this just my theory?
Congratulations! Congratulations!
Have I stumbled on a theory of the world? I'm not familiar with this term. I thought I was original in my observation. Do I get credit for this theory? Like, you know, the theory of relativity. Einstein gets that one. Is it the Michael theory of the nose ring? I'm going to claim that. Keep going.
I want to look this way. I want you to be able to look at me and see that I am a safe space and that I don't tolerate. I want you to look at me and know, Donald Trump, man, honestly, what's going on in the world right now? The genocide in Gaza. Anybody who thinks any differently. Honestly, if I'm not for you, good.
Good, Anakin, good. Kill him.
So this is great. She's a co-theoretician of the nose rings in the sense that she's saying, yeah, I'm not just wearing this because I like it. I'm not just wearing it because it makes my nose feel good. I am wearing this as a sign to signal that I'm politically on the left, that I'm, I guess, a lesbian, or I just hate men broadly, that I'm pro-Palestine, whatever. Now, she has other red flags here. The kind of odd tattoo on the finger. I don't know what that's. It's a heart. She's like, F this, F that, I hate this, I hate that.
Heart, love. Be kind. Choose kindness.
And of course, the streak of green hair, not a great sign. Why does she hate men? Does she hate men because she hates the policies of Donald Trump?
I'll kiss every guy, man and woman. Look at that guy, how handsome he is.
And which man does she hate? In my experience, I don't want to get too into psychobabble. The women with the bull nose ring perhaps could have a better relationship with their fathers.
Wow. I didn't know that. You're telling me now for the first time.
Is that safe to say? Next one.
Time for another food bank haul. What did my family of... No! 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 Because hundreds of thousands of people are starving! Babies and mothers and grandfathers are starving to death! Because there are thousands of trucks of food and diapers and baby formula behind the wall!
So she goes to a food bank? I know she made other claims too, but she goes to a food bank. Does she need to go to a food bank? I like that there are food banks, and it's good to help the poor and, you know, the needy. Is she needy? She seems very needy, but does she really need it? Does she really need the food bank? Because couldn't you apply the same principle? By going to the food bank, you're taking food from people who are sincerely in need. Even if her point were totally sound, that she doesn't seem to be expressing it in a persuasive way. Not in her comportment or her appearance or in the way that she's shrieking. I mean, you could say 2 + 2 = 4, but if you're shrieking it and banging your head on a table, you would maybe convince me that it equals 5. Next one.
All right, so let's talk about the January 6, 2020 attack, right? No National Guards were deployed that day. But now all of a sudden they want to deploy National Guards in D.C. to criminalize people. The audacity of it all. And just to set the record straight, this has never been about democracy. This is a dictatorship. It's about who can get the most power and who can use their power to manipulate and dictate the people.
Fact check true. Nothing at all happened on January 6th, 2020. I think she's talking about January 6th, 2021, when the vote was certified for the 2020 election. But the 2020 election took place about 11 months after January 2020. So I think the bull nose ring, that might have been a longer one that went all the way up and scrambled her brain a little bit. She says the guard, but let's say she was talking about 2021. It's true, there apparently weren't sufficient police forces on January 6, 2021. That's because Nancy Pelosi didn't call them in, which she took responsibility for on camera in her daughter's.
If you're carrying extra 30 pounds, on Monday, October 13th, we start the calisthenics program for beauties who haven't exercised regularly.
Build strength and get toned with just 7 minutes a day. By October 20th, you'll feel it. By November 3rd, you'll see it. By mid-November, you'll look stronger again. Tap the screen to join us.
Documentary. Okay, next one.
I just came to the realization why I'm single. Every guy that I'm like, oh yeah, he's attractive, I see their wives and they just look like so like, you know, like not like this. Dude, I look crazy. Like that's why guys don't want to wife me up. And I just come to this realization.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That's probably true. There are guys who would find that attractive.
Yeah, boy.
But look, she's still got a little sanity left. The bull nose ring hasn't totally deprived her of that, because she's attracted to normal guys. There are plenty of guys who would be into all that with the crazy nose rings and all the attendant behavior, but she doesn't like those guys because those guys are generally weirdos and losers.
Are you sure about that?
So I want the normal guy, but the normal guy wants the normal girl, and I don't want to act normal. See, it's the ring paradox. She is very attracted to the wedding ring, all the married guys, but the married guys are not attracted to the bull nose ring. But there's she says she has tattoos. Those are harder to remove, I guess. Maybe she could do it. But it is, if she wants to attract the guy, not the married guys, but the guys like the married guys. Here's the advice. Here's how you do it. You just put it down on the table. And after you do that, it's not like that's a magical totem or something. After you do that, you then stop behaving like people who have the bull nose ring. Right now, go to expressvpn.com/Michael_Y_T. Did you know that your internet provider watches your every move online? Tracks all your clicks, all your time spent online, builds a profile to sell to the highest bidder. Sounds illegal, and it should be, but it's not. There is a solution. It's one that I've used for many years now, ExpressVPN. With ExpressVPN, all our online activity travels through secure encrypted servers. No one, not even my internet service provider, can track my movements or take away my rights. I love it. So easy too, even for me. On all your devices, your phone, your tablet, your computer, boom, you click one button, you're done. ExpressVPN just launched Identity Defender for U.S. customers, included at no extra cost, removes your data from brokers' files, monitors the dark web for your information, alerts you if someone tries to use your social security number. Find out how you get 4 months free by scanning the QR code on screen, clicking the link in the description box below, or going to expressvpn.com/Michael_Y_T.
And yet, when it comes to this piercing, for some reason, men have the audacity to, first of all, think that I care what they think. And second of all, think that they can comment on it and say some really nasty things, actually. So I'm going to need you to take the mirror, look in it, do some reflecting, and learn that it's not all about you.
But it is, right? That whole video is about me.
It's all about me.
And I try to be nice about it. You don't want to attack a woman's appearance, but you point out the bull nose ring, not great. And so she says, why do you think I care what you think? Hold on, I'm going to just make a 45-minute video about why I totally don't care what you think in that thing that you said, and here's how you said it, and I didn't like the way you said it, and I don't. You do care. That's fine. I care what other people think about me too. To some degree, because I live in society. Why do I comb my hair? I comb my hair so that I look nice and kempt and put together at work or even just in public. Why do I wear a wedding ring? Is to fend off the hordes of women who would throw themselves at a Lothario such as I. Why do I have the Leftist Tears tumbler? To give myself delicious Leftist Tears to nourish myself. Why do you have the bull nose ring? You are wearing this ring that you know is off-putting to people in order to elicit a negative reaction. And there are all sorts of reasons we can surmise, psychological reasons as to why this is. Some people, they'll take any attention, even negative attention, as long as it's attention. Some people want to get a rise out of a guy, out of, I don't know, make dad really angry or something. All of liberalism comes down to screw you, dad.
I am your father.
No.
The you mean, nah?
Don't blame me. That's what you want to do. I'm giving you what you want. And you're talking about it. About all the attention that you say you don't want. Okay, next one.
I just left the grocery store and I saw someone open carrying. I hate it here. What the Why do you need to bring a gun to the grocery store?
Because I can.
What the
To protect you is really why. And ourselves. Because the people with the bull nose rings, they don't want good guys to carry guns. They don't like the cops. They let criminals out of jail. They exalt criminals. They encourage criminal behavior. They discourage basic elements of the natural law like self-preservation because of you and in order to protect you, we need guns. We wouldn't, it's because of you. It's you.
It was you, Charlie. It was you.
Go back through all of them. I want to see if any of them are not too far gone. That girl's pretty far gone. That girl is pretty far gone. That girl's way far gone. That girl seems to still have a little joie de vivre in her. You know, she only has the one, and it's a small, notice that's a little tiny bull nose ring. In fact, without my glasses, I could barely even see. She's just testing it out. This isn't the like, hey, Dad, I'm going to like clobber you over the head and chop you up into little pieces. This is more like, what do you think about this? And she's kind of put together, you know, she's generally, looks like she showered. She still clearly is craving affirmation from a male authority figure. That's the whole point of this video. So to me, Purest Folly can fall out of her folly, I think. She can return back to sobriety, normality. It's a little, I'm not even convinced that one's real. That might be a clip-on.
Huh. What do you men? What do you think? Huh. What do you think I care what you think? What do you think about my nose ring? What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, she could come back. Okay. The rest of you don't do it. You could earring, okay, whatever. Even if you have like one of these little, whatever. Okay. I have bigger battles to fight. But the big like demonic bull nose, lose it. Put it somewhere else. See you next time.
If no one ever taught you how to manage your money, or you're secretly ashamed of where you're at financially, please stick around. This could change everything. Hi, I'm Britt Baker, co-founder of Dow Janes, and I'm here to tell you something that most financial experts never say out loud. Most women were never taught how to manage money. See, the truth is, women were taught how to save money, but not grow it. We were taught how to spend responsibly, but not how to invest, build wealth, or change.
So we're looking back to a time when Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk were together on stage. We have a student accuse Charlie Kirk of being manipulative.
The point of a debate, if you care about humanity, if you care about improving people's welfare, should be to present objective facts based on independent studies.
Which he does, and this guy even admits he does.
And decides which is what Charlie does, but choosing to neglect the entirety of the factual statement.
Okay, I think this is now turning into like a Yelp review of Charlie Kirk.
So I cannot put forth my argument unless I acknowledge the entirety of what is true. Well, that's not possible. That's never going to happen. What does that do? It makes it impossible for me to present my argument.
The things that you're choosing to neglect that present things in a more balanced way indicates that your objective here isn't to convince people based on the whole truth, but in fact to play off of people's inability to quickly respond by asking for sources.
So if you're going to attack someone for not presenting objective truth, well, you're going to be attacking everyone. And now he is questioning Charlie's objective and motivation, his intention.
So, for example, the thing that you've just said now about abortion, could you quickly remind me so I don't trip over my own
Sure, I'll
words?
do the first one. I say a celebration of a pregnancy. Why do we call that event a baby shower, not a fetus shower?
Right. So that in itself sounds like, oh, right, well, that means there's a cultural acceptance of the idea that it's a baby pre-birth. But that's just a linguistic, cultural way. So I call it, I'm pro-choice, for example, but I would still call it a baby shower. That doesn't mean I culturally accept the idea that it's a baby pre-birth. I'm just using a linguistic standard.
What a baby is not just a linguistic standard. It is either a baby under the law or it's not.
There's deeper meaning, though. Let's play this out. It's fun. So if the individual that has the baby shower decides right after the baby shower to have an abortion.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want, and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction.
What is that inside of her called?
That is a logically valid question. It's an interesting question. But watch what he does here. He will not contend with it at all.
I don't want to do this, if that's all right. I don't want to do abortion.
I know, but you see all of a sudden your argument
can I use a
blows
different
up?
example if abortion is kicking up too much dust?
Say that again.
Can I use a different example
Sure,
of a fact?
that's fine,
Okay,
that's
so
perfectly fine.
He's not really interested in the argument. He's interested in trying to attack Charlie's intentions. He's doing the opposite of making it about the logic and not the person. He's making it about the person.
the first thing I saw with you in was your political debate with Hassan. It was that the worst 10 cities in America were run by Democrats.
Yeah, the poorest, most murderous. Yeah.
Right. So I looked it up.
So it's not enough that that is a factually true statement. Why? Well, because most cities are Democrat.
That's a pretty condemning statistic that the worst cities, to summarize, are mostly Democratic.
Yeah,
but you didn't present the whole statistic, and that was a very purposeful choice. If you look up that study, that is
Charlie's
the
not
evidence
going to debate himself. I don't this is very
because
confusing
it's not
to
a game,
me.
Candace. That was Correct. But it was also correct that of the top 10 cities, most of them were Democrat. And across the board, on average, most cities are Democrat.
Charlie's trying to make a point about conservative concepts and how they, to him, are the solution. Things vary greatly state to state, city to city.
So the most prosperous, most job-creating, most entrepreneurial states are ones with Republican governors and low tax, low regulation type policies. And there is a correlation between the most murderous, the most dangerous, and the most, honestly, hopeless areas, and Candace grew up in one of them, are almost always dominated by Democrats. But when those Republican policies are actually allowed to be instituted, those communities turn around quite quickly.
We can still logically examine those outcomes and what causes them. And what does that have to do with the fact that most cities are Democrat governed?
So cities tend to be more, urban areas tend to be more to the left, just as they are. But when Republican mayors are actually allowed the chance to govern, the results are remarkable.
And notice he has no response to this. He doesn't delve into any of these logical points. Instead, he moves on.
You said, I think it was the life expectancy in Cuba was 15 years lower than that in the United States.
Yeah, if the government doesn't kill you, right.
Right, democide. But I looked it up as well, and I found there was no information on that.
And yet, a moment later, he claims that he conducted his own Google search and is now presenting his information. So I guess there was information.
It said that it was actually a year older than the US. So I just,
So,
how do you,
great
especially
point.
when you're, like, I think it's called galloping, when you're throwing so many points in a debate, do you not think it's unfair and unreasonable and maybe at points even manipulative to be phrasing things in a certain way that might be, when beyond scrutiny, it's like me who had to Google all of these statistics, which pan out to be not as obtrusive and anti-left as you say they are.
Yes, Charlie, what you're saying is factually right, but these truths are not as obtrusive. This is so much subjective language, it makes it impossible to contend with.
Do you not think that's at the worst incompetent, and at the best incompetent, and at the worst malicious?
So you're entitled to your own opinion, not entitled to your own facts. Let's talk about the Cuban one. I reject the own Cuban government's health statistics completely and totally. I don't believe the socialist governments of Cuba's health statistics that they submit to the World Health Organization or the United Nations, because objective, independent analysis of their own health standards are nearly 20 to 30 years behind life expectancy that their own government produces. Point is, like, I could do this for I could do that for every issue.
It's more that, so you say, like, oh, we shouldn't trust the Cuban health statistics because they've got an agenda to promote, and that probably makes a lot of sense.
It either makes sense to you or it doesn't. It's not that probably makes a lot of sense.
But similarly, there are people whose prime objective, as if they're still stuck in McCarthyism, is to obliterate any form of socialism and communism as an opposition to free market capitalism.
This is very revealing. Yes, I am opposed to socialism in America, so therefore I will point out the flaws of socialism to make that point. And you can see Charlie's face, he's just kind of like, yep, I don't like socialism.
And so, similarly, in the same way that we shouldn't trust the authorities in Cuba,
okay, so if at the root of this is capitalism versus socialism, this is what I don't understand. It's weird to me when people come up to this discussion and it's like, at your core, you're just what, defending socialism, defending Cuba, defending, what are you defending?
Because I have a problem with socialism. That does not mean my points are invalid. His problem is that Charlie is attacking ideas that he likes.
The root of my question,
I get what you're saying is he's phrasing things in a way that maybe aren't fair because you could find something on the internet that maybe supports communism and socialism. That's essentially what you're saying, right?
This is very revealing. He admits that I have identified the studies that Charlie Kirk is using, and I know he's using these studies because they mirror his arguments.
I found the exact studies that he's referenced and know that they do because they actually mirror the things that he's said verbatim.
So they're cited.
And
he's admitting that there are studies that back everything Charlie Kirk is saying.
Shalom from Jerusalem. My name is Shani Ferguson, and today is an exciting day because early, while it was still dark outside, Israelis got the news that Hamas has agreed to return our...
So I do use studies, is what you're saying.
I never said you didn't, Charlie.
I'm not sure where you're coming from.
That's why I'm saying I'm not mischaracterizing you. I get what you're saying. You're saying, Charlie, he's saying that you say facts, but there are also alternative facts that would maybe present socialism and communism in a better way.
This is not what you successfully pivoted away from the intention of my question, which wasn't the factual nature of the statements you were saying. It's the way that you phrased them.
So I phrased them effectively, and that should be a problem?
This is that dangerous game that we have seen time and time again. Neil deGrasse Tyson going after Ben Shapiro for, yes, what you're saying is factually true, but what is the intention behind those facts.
Although that is obviously scientifically true. Trans women are not biological women. Biological women are biological women.
But where are you going with this? What are you trying to accomplish by asking yourself, is it science or is it not science?
But this is a perfect example of an area where suddenly it doesn't matter to say things that are just true.
It's crazy that we've gotten to a time where it's not enough to just acknowledge something that is true.
You've mischaracterized what I'm truly saying here, which is that you're not trying to genuinely convince people.
And this is what this game leads to. It allows you to attack the attentions of others. But anytime someone tries to respond to you, it's like, well, no, you're mischaracterizing my intentions.
You seem to be, from the presentation of the facts that I've given you as an example, phrasing truths in a very specific way and choosing to ignore things that present it in a more balanced way.
He did this very thing when it came to the abortion example. He chose, when it suits him, not to speak about something.
You pivoted quickly away from the abortion thing.
Why? Well, because that made me uncomfortable.
I pivoted away from the abortion thing, not because I didn't want to talk about it, because it made me uncomfortable to do so.
Maybe it made you think a way you never had to think before?
This is the #1 most common attack you're going to get if you try and engage in critical thinking and logical reasoning around any of these topics. People are going to attack not what you say, not your logic, but your intentions.
The way that you choose to present them, right? It's like saying if a statistic is 68%, you can't just rearrange the 68 to say 86, right? Hear me out, because that is just lying.
What is more dangerous than an attack that cannot even be identified?
Saying it's unfair because of the way he's saying them, not because of...
Because from what I'm getting, you're saying that
he's
used...
called a debate.
Yeah, essentially what you're saying is he's too good at presenting his argument.
All you can do is say, well, I will do my best. Let's talk.
I will issue a challenge to the world. Anyone can come prepared with any hundreds of pages of documents to debate me, and I wish them well. Thank you.
If you're 30 and want to reduce cortisol belly fat, on Monday, October 13th, we're starting a calisthenics program for beginners. Give us 4 weeks and you won't recognize your body by mid-November. By October 20th.
An arrest affidavit says a woman was shot and killed outside a Dallas PetSmart after getting upset at a woman for not saying thank you.
Court documents say the victim, Cecilia Simpson, was shot several times after the dispute escalated into a parking lot fight.
Many times on this channel, I've explained the process of me picking specific stories to present to you guys out there in the audience. And usually the reason why I select an individual crime, elevate it to the point where I think it should bring attention to you guys out there in the audience, is due to the fact that there are broader policy implications, and this is a negative consequence of said policy implication that is easily digestible and understandable for people out there in the audience, and thus should lead you to the conclusion that we should change said policy so we should not get this outcome. Now, obviously, this isn't 100% rule. In fact, I covered a story out of San Francisco of people being attacked by a squirrel, which, by the way, too few of you watched that video. I'm absolutely disgusted because you refused to watch it, because that was an amazing video. But in this particular case, the scenario that I'm highlighting is out of Dallas, Texas, and what really is at issue here is a petty ego battle, a petty dispute that should have never escalated to the point where it did. It should have never even gotten to the point of a physical altercation, but the parties involved were so trash and so horrible, specifically the shooter, that she decided that this little petty dispute that should have been resolved by her saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize," or "I was being rude," ultimately ended up leading to her firing 3 shots upon somebody who was upset that she didn't get a thank you for holding open the door for her. Again, how these kind of things spiral into these situations so many times is beyond all logic and reason, but that is exactly what happened, allegedly, according to the police in this particular case, and this is what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
The family of 41-year-old Cecilia Simpson sent Fox 4 News these photos of the Duncanville mother of 2. Friends and old classmates from Duncanville ISD also mourning the loss. According to an arrest warrant affidavit, Simpson was shot and killed after becoming upset because a woman she held the door open for didn't say thank you. The argument started at the store Five Below Tuesday and then spilled over to the PetSmart in the same South Oak Cliff shopping center off Wheatland Road. Investigators say 22-year-old Kiana Hampton followed Simpson and her daughter into the PetSmart. Employees there asked them to leave.
So for those of you who don't live in the hood, for those of you who are not used to being around ghetto or ratchet people, already the premise that has been laid out by this local Dallas affiliate is ridiculous and absurd. The idea that, first of all, if a stranger holds open the door for you while you're exiting or entering a store and you wouldn't say thank you is beyond what you consider to be reasonable in a civilized society. But then for the person to make a comment about it, to say, hey, that's kind of rude, or you could say thank you, and that ultimately end up leading to a situation where it escalates into a fight where you decide that you want to attack this individual, and then ultimately you take that person's life, who again granted you a courtesy, held open a door for you, is again just madness in every possible level. But that's exactly what happened here. And I understand, and I just want to point out that Simpson, age 41, was upset at the slight, at the disrespect that she received from this younger woman, the alleged suspect in this particular case, and she might have said something that technically started this whole altercation. And I get that, and I understand that feeling, but obviously that doesn't justify her murder. But that being said, it's really important for people to realize that ego battles are often incredibly stupid. They often escalate and get out of hand, and unfortunately they have deadly consequences. So while I'm not blaming Simpson for her own murder, because obviously this was wholly unjustified, I do want to say for you guys out there in the audience, just avoid these kind of situations. If somebody doesn't say thank you, it is not worth you getting your digs in, because ultimately these kind of things can end up escalating to the point where, again, they get far beyond what you imagine. Like, I'm assuming that Simpson just wanted to stick it to her a little bit by saying that you should have said thank you, but assumed that she was going to move on with the rest of her life, not realizing that this woman would follow her into another store and ultimately end up killing her over the fact that she noticed that she has no manners, that she doesn't belong in civilized society, which, by the way, was proven to be true by this other woman's actions.
The screaming first caught my attention.
Fox 4 spoke to a 27-year-old ER nurse who walked out of the PetSmart as the two women were arguing in the parking lot.
The lady who was the shooter was still instigating, like, I guess, an argument or a fight or something. But the mom and daughter tried to, like, get in the car and, like, de-escalate the situation, but the lady wasn't having it.
So the local news media ends up interviewing a witness, somebody who works as an ER nurse, and I don't know if this woman is Latina or white. I can't really tell just by looking at her, but obviously this is like a sensible, normal person that walks out of the PetSmart and sees this situation escalating. You could actually hear the trepidation in her voice as she's recounting these events, and this is because even though she's an ER nurse, even though she's somebody who witnesses the horrors that are typically the result of these stupid ego battles or these ridiculously ratchet and ghetto situations, seeing it up close and personal is obviously incredibly off-putting for her. But she gives us some insight into how this all went down, and essentially you had this woman follow her into the store. We're talking about Hampton, the alleged suspect, following Simpson, the alleged victim, and she's screaming at her all over again the fact that Simpson was upset that she didn't say thank you. Again, totally reasonable if you're ghetto, have no morals, are incredibly stupid and ridiculous and absurd, but for regular ordinary people, absolutely crazy behavior, absolutely mad in every possible way. But she describes Simpson, who got into the vehicle with her daughter and ultimately was trying to flee. She was trying to leave the situation, trying to escape, because obviously she didn't want to have this ratchet hood moment. Yes, she wanted to give her 2 cents when she held the door open for Kiana Hampton, but obviously she was not willing to fight over it. She was not willing to come to blows over it, but Kiana kept escalating. She kept getting more ridiculous. She kept getting more insane. She essentially baited this encounter, and ultimately it ended up leading to a 41-year-old woman being shot 3 times, dying in the parking lot. And fortunately for her, there was an ER nurse nearby, but unfortunately for her, it appears the ER nurse could not do anything in order to save save her.
According to the affidavit, Hampton later confirmed to detectives she engaged in the verbal dispute, entering the PetSmart twice and continuing the argument, throwing the drink bottle at Simpson's car when she was about to leave, and engaging in a physical altercation with her. That's when police say Hampton pulled out a gun and shot Simpson 3 times.
Honestly,
discover Tucker's Cove at Babcock Ranch, the ultimate place to live and play. The only water park inspired community in Punta Gorda, Florida, offering exciting fun for every age. This new home community is also the ultimate playground, with acres of top-tier recreation. Relax.
Death penalty. Death penalty for this woman. Kiana Hampton, you are unfit for society. The fact that you admitted to the police that you were having a couple of drinks, you got into this altercation, you entered this PetSmart 2 different times in order to continue this verbal altercation. Then when this woman decided that she was going to leave with her daughter in the car, you threw a bottle at her. Then she gets out of the car, you get into the physical fight that you asked for, then you pull out a gun and shoot her 3 times? No way. Look, I'm not sorry to say this. We do not need Kiana Hamptons nearby. We do not need her in our society. We do not need her living off the taxpayer while she's in prison. We need her to face her maker. We need her to pay the ultimate price for this, because this is ridiculous. You want to talk about serious ongoing threats to society? Because, you know, occasionally when there's a situation where like a woman is abused by her spouse for years and years and years, and then she snaps and kills said spouse, people make the argument that that is an unusual scenario that is unlikely to occur again, and therefore we should give this person a lighter sentence because obviously it's like battered wife syndrome or something of the sort, and again, those circumstances are unlikely to play out another time. But this particular set of circumstances, somebody holding the door open for you, you not saying thank you to that person, then that person saying, hey, you could at least say thank you, leading to a murder, this is something that happens each and every day. This is something that's super common, and obviously Kiana Hampton has shown herself to be someone who can't let anything go, who is willing to escalate and escalate and escalate to the point where she's following this woman to another store, where she's trying to assault this woman, where she throws something at her vehicle, gets into a physical altercation, maybe she was losing that physical altercation, and decides that she's going to take somebody's life. And by the way, again, I will just point out, most people who are responsible with the firearm do not pursue altercations because they understand to a certain extent that that could lead to a deadly force altercation, so they try to hang back, be more reserved, be more relaxed. But this scenario, it's obviously being pursued by Kiana Hampton if the charges are believed to be true, if the witness and police accounts are believed to be true, and you just can't have this kind of person in society so quick to escalate repeatedly to the point where she got into a deadly force encounter. Again, a mother, somebody who is friends to other people, somebody who is courteous enough to open the door for somebody entering or exiting a particular store, was murdered in a parking lot because Kiana Hampton didn't like that she was called out for not being raised right. So she decided to prove that she was every bit as ghetto and trash as was presumed when she didn't say thank you by murdering her over this. She took her life over this encounter, and the idea that this should not be a capital murder is insane.
Multiple nurses rushed to perform CPR, Simpson's daughter by her mom's side, while also on the phone with 911.
If I could just hug that daughter, like, I just feel so bad for her, and I just want her to know that I did everything I could. Those other people did everything they could.
Again, that is just gut-wrenching right there. Here you have the ER nurse on the scene, the sensible white and or Hispanic lady that's watching all of this chaos go down, and she tries to save this woman. She tried her best to help her. Apparently, there were other nurses in and around the area, coincidentally, that were trying to assist, trying to save this woman's life, and all she can think about after watching this absolute ghetto catastrophe unfold in front of her face is that she wants to hug the victim's daughter. daughter. She just wants to hold her and say that she's sorry. She tried her best. And again, it's absolutely heartbreaking. But this is the reality that a lot of people live in the United States of America, because there are these uncivilized, quick to anger, absolutely stupid individuals all across the nation. And it happens to be a black woman in this particular case. But make no mistake about it, I've seen these type of ego battles escalate to the point where somebody gets hurt or somebody dies far beyond what was intended. And this is just the reality that sometimes you gotta let little slights go. You gotta let road rage go. You gotta let all these kind of petty things that people get worked up over go, because in reality, the consequences of getting your 2 cents in when somebody is an absolute low IQ, deranged individual could be as high as your life.
Now, the suspect, Hampton, remains here at the Dallas County Jail. She does face a murder charge. Yesterday, police say the suspect did take off in her own vehicle. She was later arrested. Surveillance video from that shopping center captured the shooting itself and also the suspect's license plate.
So, of course, the woman ends up fleeing the scene of the crime, but she's caught on surveillance video. They had her plate. They were able to pull her over. They were able to make the arrest. And it's a good thing that that was able to occur, because obviously we cannot have Kiana Hampton out in the streets when she is this dangerous and this violent of a person. And don't think that I noticed that some of you preverts out there in the audience are going to say that Peyton Yeager is attractive, that she's hot. I actually like her because her brother Frank Yeager is Gray Fox, and obviously Gray Fox, what happened to him, totally unjustified. But you know what? We will save that for another video. We're going to save that for a little bit later, because that is an important and tragic story, but it shouldn't undercut this tragic story out of the city of Dallas. But of course, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about an ego battle spiraling out of control. Till next time.
Good evening. Good evening. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Frank Fusco. I'm one of the co-presidents of the Harvard Law School Republicans. The Harvard Law School Republicans exists to promote conservative ideas and values across the law school campus. While we are a small group, we believe that we can make a significant difference through events like the one tonight. So thank you all again very much for being here. I will now hand things off to our Vice President, Austin Gatesman, who will introduce the speaker for tonight. Thank you. Good evening. How's everybody doing? As Frank mentioned, my name is Austin Gatesman, and I'm the Vice President of the Harvard Law School Republicans. Let me first thank the Young America's Foundation for all of their help in organizing this event, as well as to note that this event is being recorded, and after the conclusion of Michael's remarks, there will be a time for question and answer with you, the audience. Our speaker tonight is Michael Knowles. Michael is the host currently of the Michael Knowles Show at the Daily Wire.
I'm not sure if Professor Vajistan was able to make it out to the event this evening. I don't see him or her anywhere. Probably that